If you were branded a rightist, your family became what was called a black family. So within society, you were known to be a family that people weren't supposed to talk to. You were ostracized.
For the next 20 years, he couldn't write anything. It's not allowed to use his name to write. He was punished to doing the hard labor. To clean the public toilet, 13 of them, and which considered the most insulting and unbearable work. We lived underground, real underground. We dig a hole on the ground and we live in there. Of course, we have to make bricks ourselves, to dig the earth, to make the mold and make our bricks and fire it and take it out. So I know all the process, and I build my own bookshelves and my own bed. So you start to learn everything from a very early age.
Ai Weiwei, I think, found refuge in some sense with his hands. I mean, he became almost...
maybe it can serve some purpose.
There was a very active Chinese exile community in New York, which he also documented. He had a lot of connections and dialogues with a Chinese diaspora, Chinese artists, composers, architects. And when, for example, to meet Allen Ginsberg, he met the poets of the Beat generation. And for him, the poetry link was vital.
Increasingly flamboyant disregard for its value.
This series of works come from late 90s. I started to do reconstruct of the classic furniture, so-called Ming-style furnitures. But the most unique quality is it's all constructed without nails.
He would cut the four-legged table in half, and he would put two legs on the wall and two legs on the ground, and he'd had craftsmen put the table back together again as though it were made in the Ming Dynasty. So it was beautiful. Is this decorative art? Is this conceptual art? Is this kitsch? What is this?
In the period of Cultural Revolution, we would destroy everything. If you really destroy something, you have to really know and understand that. So make the whole act become very graceful. And so the original and the new thing can coexist in the new body. So that creates some kind of tension and power.
Following it, China went through this enormous change of, industrialization.
By dropping the urn in 1995, Ai Weiwei was essentially creating a cenotaph, a tomb of a sort of unknown soldier. He was dropping one urn to draw attention to the many others that were being destroyed around him every day. You have this urn coated in this industrial paint. The forms of the original object still exist but are obscured. And this sort of gauche covering seems out of place, but is the reality. And I think that's exactly how he sees the state in which he lives.
It was a culmination of another strand of Ai Weiwei's work as an architect. For although he has no formal training, he's designed many buildings.
He at a certain moment discovered architecture, and I think his connection to architecture is very fascinating, because today he is one of the leading architects in China. He's part of architecture biennales, he's part of architecture exhibitions. So the architecture and design world have very much embraced him, both in China but also wider in Asia.
Is there something different about his work which characterizes it because he doesn't have a formal architectural training?
It's simple, but it's very subtle. I think spatially it's extremely interesting, not just in the way that the internal spaces work, but also the way the outside spaces are unpredictable and have some of the tightness, the compression of parts of China, almost like some of the urban spaces in microcosm. Yes, very personal and very human. The way, for example, that he uses brick and creates extraordinary patterns. He has a very distinctive style.
But having played a crucial role in designing the Bird's Nest Stadium, Ai Weiwei distanced himself from the project, criticizing the use of the Olympics by the Chinese government.